we decided this year, my wife and I, because we were both dead skint, and I've been out of work since February, that we'd have a cheap holiday. I mean, all our blooding holidays are cheap, but we said we'd have a cheap one, a really cheap one this year. So I had about 45 quid, I think, come July. And on the second week in July, we decided that all we'd do is stick a tent into the boot of the car, and the cat and the dog and the kids, and off we'd go. And we'd just drive till we fancied somewhere, and we'd stop and have a camping holiday, like. Well, I've not been camping since, now 1952, when I was in the Boy Scouts. And we borrowed this tent off a neighbour. That was a friend of the daughter's, actually. And she said it was a bit ropey, the tent, like, you know. But she didn't say how ropey, like. She just said, might need a little bit of patching up here and there, like, you know. It's a frame tent, she said. I don't know if you've ever put a frame tent up, but they're not like them little pointed tents like I was used to, bivouacs or whatever it was called. This thing, God, it's like a mansion house. It's got all bars going different ways. There's ridge poles and corner units. There's strings hanging off the tapes here, and there's tapes going this way and that way. About 48 guy ropes. Millions of them things that you hang meat up with, skewers and whatnot. You've seen nothing like it. Must have weighed half a ton. The back of the car was like that, you know, it was dragging on the floor. Anyway, I couldn't say no. I was dead grateful that the woman had lent it her. Mavis it was, weren't it, lent it her? So we sticks this tent in the back of the boot, and we went to Presto's and Asda, and we bought loads of beans and sausages and bacon and all. I was getting right in with it, like, you know, it was great. It was just like the old days. I was giving her all my expertise. Get plenty of soup. You can have that whether it's hot or cold, like, you know, and beans, and make sure you don't forget a little pricker for the primer stone, you know. Anyway, we got everything, stuck it all in the back, like. She got about 48 tins of cat meat. And bloody, you know, the cat always has to be looked after better than anybody else, and then the dog, about 48 bloody beef hearts that we had to do when we got there for it. And off we went up the motorway. And the cat's crying all the way there and walking round my head when I'm trying to drive. Every now and then the cat and the dog would have a go at one another. And the bloody dog would be barking in one ear, the cat would be scratching at me. Oh, crap. Anyway, it was just like Muldoon's picnic. And we'd roll. And eventually we came to a place called Thornhill. And it's just through Dumfries in Scotland. I don't know if anybody's ever been there, but it's a beautiful little picturesque village. And we drove through this village. And just as you get through the village of Thornhill, you come to a little stone bridge over a river. And over this bridge, there's a little winding road that leads right up into the countryside. So we took this road. And as we come over the brow of this hill, I said to the wife, what a beautiful place that is. And there, just like, honestly, it was just like something out of a fairy tale, was this castle. Beautiful castle, all grey stone. You could see the spires and everything. And it was like, not like you'd imagine it. It was like lawns going for miles, or someone cut the grass. All these pine trees, beautiful river running by. It was idyllic. It was fantastic. Oh, I said, this'll do me. Oh, great. Got my fishing rod in the back. That's me. Set for a few days. So I said to her, where would you like to camp, love? Let's get near to the castle. She said, I think it's romantic. Bloody hell, romantic. Anyway, we got there and I pulled off under these little trees, like, you know, not little trees, it was big trees, these big pine trees, you know, with them weather cones on and all the rest of it. Kids loved it. Jumped out of the car and went running off with cat and dog. Cat was running up and down these trees and whatnot. So I said to her, now you take it easy. Because, you know, I wanted to start the holiday right, and we'd had a row on the way there with bloody cat and dog. I said, you take it easy. I said, tell you what I do, you make us a drink, and I'll put the tent up. Christ, what an idiot I am. I'll put the tent up. Well, we got there about 10 o'clock in the morning, because we'd driven all night. You know, we sort of got very, very early, like, so we could have a full day there. Well, at 7:30 that night, I gave up. I still hadn't got the tent up. I had corner units attached to straight bits, I bloody straight, but you've never seen anything like it. And she said, I'm sure that's not right. It looked like a condemned wigwam, the way it was. Honestly, you've seen nothing like it. And she said, I'm sure you don't have the ground sheet on the top of the tent. I said, it's the only way to keep the bleeding sunlight out of it. Oh, terrible. Anyway, the kids come and put it up for us after. And I'd give up, like, I'd pretended I could do it, but I didn't want to do it, like. I said, it'll teach you a bit about woodcraft and camping out. So I left the kids putting the tent up, and I went exploring, having a look around the river. And when I come back, it was up, and I was quite pleased about that. So the first thing that happened, like, we gets in the tent, and we had sleeping bags and all the rest of it. Well, I've not slept on the floor for about 30 years. And I tried out the sleeping bag, and I thought, this is great. And it really felt comfortable and punctuous. I thought, well, this is great, this will do me. I said, pour us a vodka out. So we took a bottle of vodka with us and about 14 cartons of orange juice. And me and the wife are sat there giving it that. Everything's great. The kids are desiccating the forest and carving their initials on a big oak tree, and cats running up and down the tree and knocking these acorns and things off. The dog's chasing bloody rabbits or something. It's absolutely smashing. And we've been there about, we must have been there 6 hours when the first little incident happened. If you can call it an incident. What happened, actually, was this fella come up with a gun under one arm, double-barrel shotgun, dirty, great, long, black, shiny barrel. It had two barrels, like. And he was dressed in tweeds. And he had these funny shoes on, like them Doc Martens he was, only with a big flap over the front. And he had these tweed pants on, like +4s, I think they call them, and his socks over at the bottom. And he had an hat on, covered in coloured hooks, all over. And a tartan tie on and a big anorak and whatnot. And he come up, and I thought, he's one of the locals, like, you know. And he come, he says, I say. I said, I think he means us. I said, why? Could we stood on the path, like, at the sign. So I said, hello, good afternoon. He said, never mind, good afternoon, can I have a word? So I said, you go and see him. No, because she's very good talking to people, the wife, you know. So I said, no, you go, he wants you, I think. So I said, how do you know he wants me? Anyway, I went up to him, like, I thought, I'll sort this guy out, you know, he probably wants to know how to put his tent up or something like that. Wants to know where the best fishing is or something, you know. So I went up, I said, how are you, Cop? Well, Christ, he said, do you know who I am? I said, no, I don't. So I said, do you know who I am? He said, that's irrelevant. I think that was the word he used. That's irrelevant. He said, I'm the Duke of Buccleuch. Oh, I said, are you? I said, well, what do you want? He said, piss off. I couldn't believe what I was listening to. I said, the wife, do you mind? He said, you're on my land. Who gave you permission to put your tent up there? I said, come on. Whose land? It's God's land. You can't have an attitude like that. I said, I'm just going to do a bit of fishing and take the kids for a few rambles through the... Do you see that castle there? I said, yeah, it's great. I said, that's why we camped here, because it was near the castle. Do you know who's due there tomorrow? I said, I've no idea. I said, we're going to come round and have a look round, like. I said, I've promised the kids I'll show them the art gallery and all that. He was going, honest, he was going purple. All veins standing out on his neck. He said, I'm the Duke of Buccleuch and I'm entertaining Her Royal Highness the Queen tomorrow, so let's have you off this land, or I'll have my bailiffs come to see you. Oh, I said, sorry, I didn't realise it was private property. There's no signs. Nothing saying keep off the grass or anything at all. So he said, you've got 1 hour. 1 hour, chappie. And off he went. Well, he weren't Scotch or out like that. You know, he didn't even have a Scotch accent. Oh, come back. She knew there was something wrong as soon as I walked back. What's up? What was he saying? I said, we've got to go. She said, well, what did he say exactly? I said, piss off. She said, I thought that's what he'd said. I said, well, what are we going to do now? She said, why didn't you ask him where we could camp? I said, he probably owns all bleeding Scotland then. There's no what do you mean where we could camp. So I said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. I said, you know, further down the river, I saw some picnic tables, like sort of about a mile the other way, like, stick everything in the car, we'll go down, we'll camp near the picnic table. Can't be doing any harm there. I mean, they won't put them up if they weren't like people there. I said, how are we going to get the tent there, though, still up? You've never seen nothing like it. We've pulled all the guy ropes up. The wife got at the front and I got at the back. And we're holding these poles. And we started walking. Well, the bloody wind got up, didn't it? And it's going... We're fighting the swine to keep it up. And I've got bags hung round my neck. There's bloody cans of beans and bacon. My bloody fishing rod stuck out here. We're dropping things. She's got a face like now. She's moaning now. I'm not coming camping again with you. Oh, couldn't find the kids. They're never there when you want them to. A bit of an help. And the dog, I think, was getting in trouble. We could hear this barking and screaming, because that's what he does. He don't bark. He's not like a normal dog. He screams this high-pitched yell. Could hear that in the distance. And then I heard two bangs. Bang, bang. I said, oh, Christ, I hope he shot him. Anyway, what happened? We finally climbed over this bridge. By now, the tent is in shreds and tatters. And we'd lost all these steel things with hooks on the end. We'd lost one every yard, I think. And when I looked back where we'd walked from, it just looked like there'd been a removal man gone berserk. There was all bits of, furniture, and my camping basket was there, and my fishing rod, and all bits all the way along. It took about 3 hours to get it off. Anyway, there's no way I was taking that tent down again. So we put the tent up, you see, where we was, near these picnic tables, and put the ground sheet in, and then we went back picking everything up, which was great. Everything was going smashing. I said we should have done this in first place. I should have known all that grass that had been cut there. They probably wouldn't like looking out in the morning, out of the castle, and seeing us camping there, especially, with her, because I know that she has to go for a pee more like everybody else. Anyway, what we did, we camped there by the side of this river, near these picnic thing. And then she said, you better go and find the kids, bring them back. So I said, well, what are you going to do? I thought, Christ, I'm putting the tent up, I'm doing the exploring, I'm rescuing the swine dog, I'm talking to the bloody Duke of Swine in Buccleuch, and she's sat on her arse up in vodka, telling me all these orders. I said, well, what are you going to do? She said, all I'm going to do is make some sandwiches now for tea. She said, so you just go and get the kids and I'll make the sarnies. So I said, aye, all right. So I went looking for the kids, and she started to make the sandwiches. Well, I found the kids. They looked like they'd come through a bloody chimney, dragged backwards. There was hair was everywhere. There was bloody twigs and Christ and all. I think they'd vandalised a complete piece of Scottish National Park. And just then the dog come flying down this thing and the dog's hair's all out and he's got bloody twigs all over. It looked like he'd been dragged backwards through a bramble bush. So we're starting looking for the cat. Anyway, the cat had more sense than us, and it had walked up along the river and it had got to the tent without us. Anyway, we got back to the tent and whatnot, and what the wife had done, she made sandwiches, and she was dying to try the primus, you see, and she'd been pumping the primus. It was a paraffin stove, and the tent stunk of paraffin because all that was happening was the paraffin was coming in like a big stream, and it was hitting the top of the tent and running down. Oh, I never told you this. It was all running down where I slept, So I was in a haze of bloody paraffin gas, Anyway, eventually, I got the stove going after a lot of messing up, putting my pricker in this little pricky hole and pumping it, and I got it going. And she cooks us some beans, And we had these beans, and she just put them out on these plates. And I told her, I said, you never put plates down inside a tent with anything on them, like beans out like that, because there's always some idiot and it was me. I slipped, and I put my knee in one plate of beans and my foot in the other. So that was the beans gone for a ball of chalk. So I said to the kids, right, go and wash the plates, after we'd eaten. I said, go and wash the plates in the river. Because I thought we'd do it like they do in Canada, in America, they do everything, don't they, a proper camping holiday. So that was another bleeding disaster. Because the kids took the plates and the pans down, and then there's a big scream from the river. Dad, Dad, Dad! I said, what the bleeding? What's up now? Can't have a 2 minutes. I'm just going to pour myself a vodka out. Jumped out of the tent, run down, just to see them disappearing down the last end of the river. So all the pissing plates had gone, and the pans. Everything had floated off down the river. So So that was us looking for bloody cardboard plates in the village the next day. You couldn't believe it. Anyway, I don't know if you've ever been camping with anybody like my wife, but she's a complete idiot. Because we'd only been there one day and one night. She gets up the next morning after we'd eaten all these half-cooked sausages and raw bacon off bits of newspaper. And she says to me, I'm going into the village today to have my hair done. I said, have your hair done? I said, you're supposed to be roughing it. We're on a camping holiday. I'm not going another day without having my hair done. I'm just going to have a blow wave. Something like that. So I said, all right, go and have your bloody hair done. And take the kids with you. I thought, well, it'll give me a chance. I'll have a bet like, buy a paper. So I waited outside the hairdressers. And I'm sat in the car and I've got the newspaper out and I'm listening to the radio. And they do a lot of these cultural programmes up in Scotland, you know. Not like us. They don't have all them daft leading DJs like Jimmy Young and, them Dave Lee Travis shows out like that. They have talks on the countryside. I mean, it's dead nice. It's cultural. And there was this guy on, and he was talking about, just about the Wildwood Trail. I think it was called the Wildwood Trail of Scotland. And I'm sat listening, and I only half paying a bit of attention to it, like, and he suddenly started talking about just a few of the natural enemies, like, that man has got. He said, there's not many, he said, but in this part of Scotland, we do have the adder. So I cocked my ear up there, I thought, the adder? He said, the adder is a snake that is a shy creature and won't bother you unless you bother it. He says, and usually they only come out like at night or when it's been raining and all the rest of it, and they slither along. And even if an adder touches you, if it goes, it'll just go over your foot and go away. It won't attack you unless you disturb it. If you was to pull a brick up or a stone or something like that by the river and there was one under it, then it'd go for you. And he said, and the only thing about the adder is that you must go and have hospital treatment within 5 minutes of the bite. Or it could turn very nasty and you could die. There's been about 7 fatalities in the last 10 years in Scotland, in this area. Well, I listened to it and then it went out of my head because I thought no more about it. You know, I mean, they're always talking about the woodcock and the salmon and how the rivers have been low for the last few months and how they're waiting for the rain. So I never given much more thought to it. Anyway, the wife had her hair done. We had a walk round the village. It's not to see, you know. It's like Salford, really, with countryside. We just had a walk round, like, you know. And you can't understand anybody because they all sort of like, oh, can I annoy you? You know, it's all funny language, like. And I even went to have a bet and I couldn't make him understand what I wanted. Oh, I only wanted to put a Yankee on. I said, Nick, it don't matter. So I just had a single. That went down. I knew it would. Anyway, we come away from there. And she'd planned a surprise lunch for us, like, and she'd bought all these cardboard plates. And it was a surprise lunch. It was a bloody surprise, all right. And we had cold spaghetti, but Christ, it's terrible. This bloody prime was trying to cook for 4 of us, honestly. And she filled the pan. Every time she pulled the pan off it, a stream of this paraffin was going in it. And the kids immediately didn't like spaghetti. So you can guess who ended up with a bleeding plate of paraffin-tasting spaghetti. Anyway, eventually, I'll tell you what we did. While we was in the village, we bought a quiz book for something to do at the night, like. I mean, it goes dark about 8:30, and that's it. Scotland dies. Everybody goes to sleep. So what we did, we got in the tent. I've still got my vodka there, you see, so I'm all right. Still having a little tipple, like, and having a smoke. And the kids got in their sleeping bag. And me and the wife had one big sleeping bag, like, you know, it's 2 put together with a zip all the way around. Brand new that we'd bought in Dumfries out of the last of our money, like. Anyway, we sat there and we're asking these questions. Who was the first man to swim the English Channel? And no bugger knew. And when we looked, there was no answers in the book. Right? And the best of it was, so in the last page of it, it says, if you want the answers to these questions, you have to buy boot so-and-so. 314. Hey, what a bloody Scots boot that was. A bleeding good quiz boot, that. So everyone was getting a bit bored, like. She was saying, what is known as the equilateral shelf? And nobody knew that, no. And that's how we went on. Nobody could answer the question. So I said, give me the book, I'll find some easy one. Right, who was the last Prime Minister before Pitt? Everyone had fell asleep. There's only me there. And I'm trying to answer these questions. I couldn't answer a bloody one. I thought, shite. Anyway, threw the boot to one side and finished my vodka off, put my fag out. I thought, that's me. I'll have a night, good night's kit. I never told you, did I? The first night was purgatory. My back was killing me. Honestly. Christ, I can't tell you how hard that floor is. And this really was the first night I'd took my trousers off and my underpants. Because I'd got this nice big sleeping bag, innit? So I've got my bare legs and I stretched down and I thought, oh, this is great, this is heaven-like. And I stretched my feet out. Well, I thought I must be touching the zip. Something cold on my foot. So, you have a bit of zip on the edge of the sleeping bag. I've stretched my legs out. Fast asleep, the wife like. Bleeding big resonant snores like a sawmill coming out of her. Both the kids fast asleep. And I'm trying to get comfy like, and I pull my leg away like, I pull my foot up the sleeping bag. It seemed to follow me. And I thought, that's so much cold, that. So I moved my foot out of the way. Oh, and as I did that, this, whatever it was, ran up my leg. Christ, it only got as far as my knee. I was out of that sleeping bag. You've never seen anything as fast in your life. A bleeding parachutist couldn't have got out of a parachute as quick. I pulled that zip down and I was up and out. I stood right in the boil lamb. That went, honestly. I let out this bloody yelp. Well, they all sat up in bed. What? I said, don't move. I said, don't panic anybody. I was panicking. I couldn't get out. Trying to undo the bleeding guard ropes at the front of the tent. I was trying to get away, And I knew whatever it was a living thing. And my mind, how they say when you're drowning, you go back. All your life flashes before you. Well, my life flashed before me, but it only flashed as far as waiting for her outside the hairdresser's. And I remembered this fella and a snake. And I thought, Christ, there's a snake in the bag. So I woke her up. I said to her, I don't want you to panic. Whatever you do, don't panic. And she's there all bleary-eyed. What is it now? What is it now? I said, but promise me you won't panic and I'll tell you. She said, I won't bloody panic. Tell me what it is. Have you knocked the vodka over? I said, no. She said, well, it can't be all that. I said, well, wait while I tell you. So she said, well, go on. I said, there's a snake in that bag. Oh, Jesus Christ, she was up. They had a big split in the side of the tent that had been patched up with sticking plaster and sellotape, and she went right through that. Crunched right into the open there. Well, she had an out on. Well, she had an out on. She had like this night shirt, Christ. She must have looked like Rip Van Winkle running out of her. Well, when she ran out, because I told her not to panic, well, the kids panicked with her, and they ran out, and the cat and the bleeding dog ran out. So they're all out on the side of the river Niff, screaming and shouting and going mad, and I'm left with the oil lamp swinging about. My head's black. I've got a piece of boiled lamb stuck to my right foot, and I'm stood trying to pull my bloody shirt round me. Oh, for Christ, what a bleeding night this is. So I shouted them back in. I said, right, there's 10 pence for the bravest person who'll pull that back. Trying to get the kids like to have a look what was in it. Anyway, I don't think they would have done it for 10 quid. Nobody was going to have a look in that sleeping bag. So we've been stood outside half an hour. And I'm getting cold now, my trousers and everything are inside. And I said, listen, somebody's going to have to go in. What's the matter? Are you all frightened? Are you all cowards or what? So I got the dog. I flew him in. I said, seek. I've heard them say that. Marjorie Woodhouse says that, don't she? Seek, fine. Anyway, the dog come out of the other side of bleeding, saying us frightened to death. And the cat won't go in. Cat run off up the thing. I thought, oh, Christ, it's down to me again. Anyway, I crawled back in. And I made her come in with me. I got hold of the wife's neck. I said, you're coming in with me. If I get bit, we're both going together. And suddenly she got a little bit of guts about her, and she pulled the thing back. Well, she only pulled it back that far. She'd seen what she'd seen and dropped it, screamed and ran. And I was convinced then. There's a 12-foot python in the bleeding sleeping bag. And I'm after her. And we're both running round. We're both running round the tent in the middle of the night in Scotland. Oh, try it. You could hear. There was pheasants taking off, leaving home. There was stoats and woodcock, the salmon dove for the bloody deepest part of the pool. Scotsman was trembling in the beds with the eerie screams that was coming out of her. I eventually stopped her and I said to her, for Christ's sake, what was it? Just tell me, what was it? She said, I've never seen nothing like it in my life before. She said, it was like a mouse, only it had big... I said, a bleeding mouse? Well, that's one thing I'm not frightened of. I had white mouse when I was a kid. I said, are you sure? She said, don't go in. She said, big eyes and big... I said, I'm not frightened of a pissing mouse. And I went in, pulled the thing back. And it was a little... I don't really know, I heard of one of these. This fella, like, that threw us off again, the Duke of Buccleuch, told me after. It was what they call a shrew. And it had beautiful little pink ears and a long nose, a long snout and whiskers on. It was doing this business. And its friend was in with it. Had a long mouse's tail. And we found out, through close observation of Fudge, that's our cat, that what the cat was doing was going out of the night time, eating as many as she could, and then bringing rest back and stuffing them down my sleeping bag. And making a bit of a larder out of the sleeping bag. So, anyway, I got them out, like, and the kids wanted me to keep it, and there was a big row between me and the kids, and she wouldn't get back in the tent until I'd beat the earth for about 14 feet around the tent. I had to throw them out, and then she insisted on sleeping in the sleeping bag after I'd crawled round it. Oh, Jesus wept. You've never seen nothing like it. What a bleeding camping holiday that was. And we all settled down and got some kit. And the next morning, it was peeing down. The heavens opened. Well, there was a river running down the middle of the tent, and you could see there were beans and pieces of boiled lamb floating out. She'd took some of them paper hankies and they was all squashy and, oh, crap, Miss Siggs was floating in it. Oh, gee, oh, what a terror, I can't tell you. It was the most depressing hour and a half I'd ever had in my life. And I was just sat there thinking I could be at home now, watching the box. What am I doing here? What kind of a fool would come all this way and spend days and days of purgatory? I'm just thinking all it. And a voice come. Ahoy! Ahoy, the tent! So I said, you better go and see what it is. She said, I'm not. I said, well, I've got nothing on. I'm on sat here in my shirt. And she said, and look at me, I think I can go out like that. I said, Christ, Doc, don't always cause trouble. Why do you always argue with me? I said, just bob your head out of the tent. So she wouldn't. So I had to be muggins again. I bobbed my head out. There's this fella. He looked like an SAS man. And he just looked like he'd just come back from the Falklands. He had a gun on one shoulder, bloody gun on the other, all these hooks and what. It wasn't that Duke again. It was another fella. He said, I'm the Duke of Buccleuch bailiff, and if you're not off here within 5 minutes... 5 minutes, I said. I've not even got my trousers on. I said, you're joking. I'm not getting out in this. I said, it's throwing it down. He said, yes, you've got a point. It is rain. He said, Luke, you'll have to be off here by today. He said, we're having visitors. I said, oh, I know. The Queen's coming. I said, and she'll be sat in that big warm castle there. I said, and we're storing 3 feet of bleeding mud and shit. We've lost all our pans and plates because we've had to move. I said, the tent's in sodding shreds. We've been ate alive by bleeding shrews or whatever. We've had snakes attacking us. Oh, I said, you can stick Scotland up your arse, pal. Anyway, he didn't like that, did he? And he walked off in enough. He said, don't be there when I come back. So we had to roll the tent up. It was all dripping wet and soaking and all this, and I put it in the boot, and we came back. It took us about 3 weeks after to sort ourselves out. Every item of clothing was ruined, wet through. She insisted on going through the car with a fine tooth comb. I was still laying mouse traps in the boot for about a week after. Oh, I don't know. Terrible.